Greetings, Moonlight citizens. This is your Moonlight King, the man on the moon here, with the 59th episode of Moonlight Kingdom Podcast. In 3, 2, 1, we are going to be talking about a variety of topics such as video games, the Titanic, and simulation theory on this episode of the Moonlight Kingdom Podcast. Ooh.
Man on the Moon and Jake, can I get your ages for TikTok purposes, please?
Okay, I'm going to bed and take
32.
25.
All right, perfect. So, Man on the Moon, what insight did you have for the Titanic?
Well, with everything we know now, with like the scans and everything, it just left actually a bunch of things I want to discuss, topics you brought up, but I'll start with the Titanic. With everything we know now, with the Titanic and stuff, thanks to all them scans and everything, you have to wonder, like, you think there'll be another Titanic movie? I know the last one was so good, but we live in the age of remakes and reboots and so on. You think there'll be another?
I heard there was a rumor that they were working on another, but I don't know if it's going to be the same story again, because what I was hearing they were going to do is they're going to create a second one, because there was talk, I think it was about 5 years ago, of recreating the Titanic, but actually, quote unquote, making it unsinkable, and doing the maiden voyage all over again, the same exact route they were going to take.
It was unfinished.
But it never came to fruition. So maybe they'll make a movie on that, but overall, I don't know.
That would be tough to do, considering that, let's call it the Titanic 2 wasn't finished. So it's like, what are you going to make a movie about? The ship you're making a movie on was never really made. It never went anywhere. So, I mean, you'd make a movie about the construction, but the construction went nowhere. So it would be more of a documentary if you went that route. But
I was going to say, no, they'll just fill in the blanks. They'll say what they think would happen, or they'll make it a happy ending. It'll be a Disney movie Titanic where we don't lose anybody. I don't know.
Free Willy comes and rescues all of them.
Oh, you laugh, but that movie actually exists. There's this animated Titanic movie where this giant squid shows up and saves everybody.
Stop it, it does not. Really?
Yeah, I've seen it.
God, I need to see that. I need to see that movie.
Wait, you weren't kidding? That's a thing?
No, it's a real thing. There's the animated movie with like a talking dog, and at the end when the ship is sinking, this giant squid shows up and takes people to New York.
Oh my god, that is funny.
I've seen it. It was ridiculous. It got a sequel.
Oh my god, it's a thing.
What's it called? I need the name.
In Search of the Titanic.
Funny.
Here, I'll put it in chat. This is what came up in my search for it.
That is hilarious.
Oh my, hold on. I've got a No. Oh, it's not going to let me. There we go. Hold on. I'm saving this picture to my desktop just so I can share it. Give me 2 seconds. I'll add an image source really quickly. So this is the squid from the movie. I went and saved it.
Oh yeah.
This is actually a thing.
Oh my god. Yay! We love a squid that saves everybody.
It's amazing what
I'm going to have to randomly find this movie and watch it now.
Oh, I bet you it's on Watch Cartoons Online.
It probably is.
That is so funny. I love it.
Animation's not that great, yeah.
That's the piece of information I never needed to know, but I'm glad I know.
Yeah, exactly. Something you would never think you would know.
Those are always the best kinds of info. You have the longest laugh out of them.
Yeah, for sure.
So, Jake, what did you want to add to the conversation, or what questions did you have about the topic?
I wanted to talk about my favorite video game.
Your favorite video game? Sure.
Someone was just asking me this at a store recently. It was hard to decide, but I think that, like, I had to go by hours played. It would have to be Skyrim.
There are a lot of people with a lot of hours in Skyrim.
Yes. So I do love, but I also like haven't played it in a long time because obviously there's been newer stuff. Like I'm really loving like the Horizon Zero Dawn
Which one?
game. Well, all of them. I love the first one, love this expansion, love the second one, love the expansion, or the VR one, VR additional one. I've just been thinking that story is so cool.
I wanted
But then
to.
also, I'm like,
Oh yeah.
is it franchise? Like, what about like Pokemon? Like, Pokemon's got to be one of my favorite video games because I play every single one of them. I just don't play 9 million hours in each of them.
You're a
I
Pokemon
think
Go
the last
player.
I did Pokemon Go for like 3 weeks and got bored.
So did I. I downloaded the broken one where you didn't have to actually walk. You have a joystick and walk your character yourself.
That game
That's
got more
cheating.
people out of the house than Wii Fitness or Taibo or whatever exercise craze you could think of. That game got more people up and active than just about anything.
So where I was living at the time was basically a ghost town after, I don't know, maybe 7 p.m. When Pokemon Go dropped, I couldn't drive my car down the street. There were so many people. There had to be, it looked like there was a protest going on. There was at least 1,000 people all wandering from Pokestop to Pokestop.
I live in Toronto and we don't have many like beaches. So the one beach that's kind of like downtown, I've never seen anything like it. It was swarmed with people trying to catch water Pokemon. It was so funny.
Oh my God, at one of our beaches around here, we had some guy out in the middle of like 12-foot waves in a canoe trying to catch a rare polywog out in the water.
Yeah, it went crazy. Like even in high school, you had kids from other schools coming over here looking fucking Pokemon swarming the place. It got so bad that the school actively had to ban it. You would genuinely get in trouble
That
if you
doesn't
got
surprise
busted.
me.
You'd get in trouble if you got busted playing Pokemon Go. It was ridiculously funny.
Like here, if you want them to learn how to read, give them Pokemon because you cannot play the game unless you can read.
Food.
Just don't give them a tablet.
Get away from your sister's
No, I don't give
Eat
them a
your food.
tablet. I give them a Game Boy, but a cheap emulator one that you
There's
can
still
download
sodas in
it onto. But like, I'm like, why can't your kid read yet? They're like 6. I'm like, I was
What?
Pokemon at 5.
outside's getting more because
How are you 6 years old and don't know how to read?
Again.
Nobody, none of them do. It's crazy. They can read a little bit, piece a little bit together, but I'm like, play Pokemon. They all want to play Pokemon. They're obsessed with it. They're like, I want to play the Pokemon game. But then they make you do it because you can read. They don't know what they're doing. I'm like, no, I'm not playing it for you. You have to like understand what these. They're simple words, but like it really helps. I feel like with their reading comprehension in the long run.
I don't think my parents really got it when I was younger, but one of the reasons that I have the, I don't want to say intellectual capacity, we'll say my reading comprehension is as high as it is. Partly
Literacy.
because of school. I liked my English classes. But when I was growing up, my favorite games were all RPGs. I had to read through all of them, and my parents weren't going to help me through them because they thought video games were a waste of time.
100%. But really, that was to your benefit because then that forced you to have to do it on your own.
You had to figure out a lot of what the games were asking you to do by yourself, whether it was like puzzle solving or platforming or whatever. it forced you to
Now,
get creative with shit and just
now
yeah.
I will say that it may have helped develop my dyslexia at the same time. Due to the fact of some of the games I played were very badly translated and words were out of order. So that may also be a thing, but that, not confirmed. Dyslexia, yes, absolutely have it. Whether video games caused it due to bad translations, that's a whole nother story.
I see a PMID code coming in your future.
Yeah, so we just did this new study because this streamer wouldn't shut up about video.
That's funny.
But no, it doesn't surprise me. Like, if somebody tells me a 6 or a 7-year-old has a low level of reading comprehension or a low reading level, that unfortunately doesn't surprise me anymore. When I started having to do the research with the political climate and the things on trans individuals and like everything else that I go through and study, when I found back to back peer-reviewed sources showing that the average literacy level is between a 5th and 6th grader in the U.S.
It's shocking. I see some people can't even spell simple words
Well, spelling doesn't bother me so much. If somebody's bad at spelling, they're bad at spelling, and I will absolutely put some of the blame on it of our technology. Technology took away the need for true spelling, I will call it, because if you can get close, your phone's going to correct it, or word program or whatever. As long as you're close, it's going to correct it for you. And it's gotten so damn good, you don't even have to have decent grammar. And that's some of the problem, is individuals use it too much.
I agree with you. But it's shocking. It's simple things that you have to use in your day-to-day life. They can't even spell them out, write them out. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's definitely a concerning thing when you're in a 4th grade classroom and you come across a kid who has trouble writing his own name.
That's problematic.
Yeah. Or you see the handwriting of some adults that it's crazy. I guess so.
Hey, don't pick on handwriting now. My handwriting is atrocious.
I think there's a
Should have been
difference
a
though,
doctor.
between handwriting and legitimately illegible.
Okay, I'm a typist. I actually just redid my typing. My typing is slowed down, chat. By the way, I retested myself. I used to be 179 words per minute. I'm down to 139 because wow. I don't type all the time. But I'm still 3 times faster than the average person on a keyboard.
Oh, totally. I love doing those typing tests. That's so funny you brought that up. I'm about 120 to 140, depending on how much I've been typing. But I loved doing those because that was one of the only games we had in computer lab was growing up with.
So the funniest thing is I was awful when I did my computer lab. When I first started, I was one of the slowest people in there. I had no interest because I was learning handwriting. I'm over 30 at this point. I'm 30 with experience, but I'm not telling you how much experience. But what it came down to is everyone told me, handwriting is going to be super important. Make sure you're always legible. So I practiced it. I did a lot of that. But when I typed, I don't know. I still don't type perfectly, like the way that they teach you to type. My fingers, I'll stretch them out to keys that my other hand's supposed to press. Whatever. I type my way and I'm good at it. But what it came down to is I made a group of friends on the older chat systems, whatever. Think you got Messenger, MSN, AOL,
MySpace.
Think of any messenger system. Well, we also we did RPing in those chat systems. So we would have mock battles, like if anybody's played Dungeons and Dragons, think of doing that but at rapid speed typing. Whoever could type faster got more action. So if I could get, as long as they were 2 sentences long and a minimum of 10 words per sentence, the faster typer was going to finish these. And I was losing and losing. And I was a very competitive little girl. I didn't like to lose. So I got faster and faster and faster at typing because I didn't want to lose in those chat online RP battles anymore. That's why I'm so fast at typing.
That's hilarious.
And then my job for the military was on a keyboard 24/7, doing stuff inside a skiff. But that's about as much information on that as I can give. So I've spent the majority of my life on a keyboard, so I'm pretty fucking fast at it, to the point that I can't buy cheap keyboards because the keys don't rebound fast enough. I'll actually, like if I'm typing full sentences out, the cheaper keyboards, the key press is not doesn't release fast enough that I can hit the key again by the time I'm already ghosting over it.
Oh my gosh.
You should get a typewriter. Go full Stephen King on this.
I've tried a typewriter. The amount of pressure that you have to put to type on a typewriter, like if you use like an old school typewriter, fuck that shit. No.
Hammer down them keys.
I use I think my current keys are 0.38 millipress or whatever the heck they call it. Like mine are ultra light. Basically, I don't have to put any pressure, and I can just I don't have to push. How do I put this? So when most people type, they push their key all the way into the ground. Like you can hear me doing it right now. When I press, I'm barely making the key depress, and I know exactly how much depression force. Yeah. My keys go to basically like half keying. I don't full press my keys because I have them set up to work that way.
You do that movie hacker typing where like you see them typing away really fast and shit, but they're barely touching the keys.
Yeah, that stuff that is completely fake. But the way they're portraying fast typers, yes, that is about how I type.
Yeah,
it's so funny. Remember, like, I don't know if you were Buffy the Vampire Slayer fans, but like when Willow was in her technology era, and she was like, I have to pinpoint the coordinates, and she's just like typing, and like the screen has nonsense on it.
That typing was bullshit. They didn't have to press enter or space or even touch the mouse even once. Bullshit.
I'm sorry. My favorite movie of like hackers and all that stuff, and I hope TikTok, this is literally talking about movies. Please don't get mad. Talking about all that shit and how much fake bullshit was out there that people thought this was really the way it worked is Swordfish.
Yeah, Hugh Jackman was great in that.
Swordfish is like my favorite hacker movie, and it's the most BS I've ever seen in a movie in my life.
Okay, number one, most hackers do not look like Hugh Jackman, and those that do ain't that good. If you're putting in that much time into getting in that good shape, you ain't putting in enough time into your hacking. I'm sorry, that's just the sad truth of it all.
Well, that's not true. In modern era, they could look that good and put that much time in because they already put their former years into building an AI bot program that does the hacking for them.
Come on.
Oh my god. How did we get here?
Very easily.
So my conversational pieces are as follows. And we're talking about hacking movies.
It's a pretty easy train of thought. We went from the Titanic with the 3D scans and then we found ourselves to, hacking in computers. It's a very
Wait a
easy
minute,
line to
no. We
follow.
went from Titanic to pantheons to how gods get their power to whether there's one true god to a brief touch on multiversal theory versus simulation theory and how they coincide with each other.
I have a theory on
Back to the
that.
Titanic to a giant squid that saved people from the Titanic to hacking movies. Let's make sure we give the full arrangement of what the fuck has been going on in this live.
It was a powerful sneeze. But
I'm sorry, and in the background, my husband is in the background. My husband has the play, and all I hear is "Because you are Athena."
Wow. You brought
Don't
up
be modest. I guess you're a goddess, 'cause you are Athena. That song is so addicting too.
good grief. What was I saying? Oh yeah. You brought up simulations and like the multiverse and such. I had an idea on that. I keep saying this. Have you seen Matrix Reloaded?
Yep.
Okay, so when he's talking to the architect at the end of the movie, there's a lot of wordy dialogue, but if you break it down, there's something in there where he mentions this is like the 6th time we've done this, and it lets the credence like, okay, so this is the 6th, not in the case of this is the 6th time this has happened per se, but the theory is this is like the 6th universe that we've lived in where these events have led to this point, because in like the wikis and all the codexes and what the fuck ever, they explain that in the different versions of the Matrix, events didn't play out exactly the same. He explained like, the first version of Matrix was this kind of way, the second version was this kind of way, and like one was this nightmare world where we had all these monsters like werewolves and vampires, and I'm thinking, what if that's how you explain how we have these myths and theories and folklore and shit.
That's how simulation meets multiversal. So there's a theoretical that if multiverse exists, then if simulation exists, then multiverse exists. And the reason for that is the way the simulation exists is simulation is older coding. Older coding never goes away. You build on the coding. So the coding is in the background, and that world is still running, even though it's doomed to fail. So what simulation theory basically is human beings have moved up to a period of time. Let's say in the first universe, the first simulation that was created, human beings made it to ancient Rome. But X choices led them to fail and fall as a civilization, and from that point you could see just a continual deterioration with no upclimb. So it got reloaded. But we can't reload it and start from Rome. That doesn't make sense. All gamers know this. You don't get to reload at that point. No, you go back to square one. So now you go back to square one, and we made some tweaks in the program. So when we get to Rome, we actually make it past Rome. And this time we make it to, say, World War II. But World War II, we failed again. And then, the world is covered in a cloud. So it gets reset. And then we start from square one and we build up again. How many times, how many points in history have human beings failed and created their own multiverse due to the fact that they can't pass the simulation? What is the end point of the simulation? These are all concepts of simulation theory, and why I find it so fascinating is, when do we win? My answer for when we win is where the quote-unquote Garden of Eden comes from. When we reach absolute balance, when we reach absolute zero. Evil or positive and negative intertwine at a subsector of zero, where we have no animosity versus just narrow line. Is we have to but human beings have to get past their greed. How do you code greed out of a simulation?
Question.
In a way, you couldn't, because there will always be that element of, we getting access to more than what you need. and you just get to like sit
Right.
like once.
And I segued into this specifically because your line from the Matrix is one of the lines that's talked about in simulation theory a lot. Is during one of the simulations, okay, we thought we could get humanity to band together a greater evil, for lack of a better way of saying it. The creatures of the night, vampires, werewolves, leviathans, whatever it may be. This evil is so great that human beings will see past their inherent greed and band together as one. Nope, that fucking failed. Some of them went and joined the damn werewolves. Well, screw that simulation. We're trying again.
I think the Japanese with Shintoism was probably the closest you'll ever get. I think about that same sort of thing what you're saying about like a point in time where humans can evolve past greed and stuff. It's like, can you have a utopia and free will?
I don't believe free will exists, so that's a difficult conversation to have with me.
Especially in a simulation.
I think well, even if God's real, say simulation's not real. But say there's one true God, the omnipotent, all-powerful, all-knowing, whatever God. How do you have free will when everything that is going to happen has already been preordained? Because the only way to know everything is by it happening by design.
Yep.
Especially when it comes to ones and zeros, there's as much free will as you may have. There is a set path you can go down.
Who is in control of the simulation? So that is the interesting part of simulation theory. So simulation theory, it actually dives into Inception itself. Is who's to say the person that created the simulation wasn't just someone in their own simulation that decided to create a simulation because their life was boring and mundane.
Exactly.
So who is the
Sims character playing the game in the game?
Yep, playing the game within the game of the third game. Yep.
Yeah. That kind of, like the Matrix.
Simulation theory will make you think, and it'll also make your brain really, really hurt. Because in technicality, when do you find the one? Okay, say one of you, through talking through this, you take the red pill, the blue pill?
Red pill.
I forget. I haven't watched Red pill. You take the red pill and you break free from the simulation, and you find the creator, you find the architect. Only to find out that architect never took their pill, also took a pill, and it's the only reason they were ever able to create the simulation that you're currently in is because they're within their own simulation creating a secondary simulation. And how high up the ladder do you go before you find the original creator of the original simulation?
I like that. It actually kind of reminds me of how they portrayed God in Supernatural. If you watched that show.
Yeah, where he was.
No, I haven't watched it. I haven't watched it 8 times through, and I'm currently just back to where Rowena shows up.
So I find it kind of like that, right? Like how like Kali and Ganesh are like created by Lucifer. Then God is just like an author who's like, okay, I'm in this world, on to the next.
Well, yeah, like in that show, God even says, well, I've got like 6 other toys waiting for me. I'm going to go there. But yeah, multiversal theory, like if you talk about multiversal, you talk about simulation. If you talk about simulation, you end up talking about multiversal. They go hand in hand, and honestly, for me, I find them more believable than one true omnipotent being, unless that omnipotent being happens to be literally the creator of the simulation, and then is that person actually the original creator, or are they the simulation of a simulation?
Yeah, there is some, even in the realm of film, especially like looking back at Matrix, like Reloaded and Revolutions, there is some credence to the whole simulation within a simulation, because if you'll remember at the end of Matrix Reloaded, Neo is able to use his like force powers in the real world, well, the quote-unquote real world, to stop those machines that were coming to get them. And even in Revolutions, after losing his eyes, he's still able to see. He's still has access to some of the abilities he had in the Matrix, which lends credence to this theory that the real world of Zion that they all live in is just another layer of simulation.
It's just another simulation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if this was the so-called real world, he wouldn't have been able to do any of that. None of his abilities would have been able to carry over. And let's be real, Smith, the Agent Smith, would not have been able to transfer himself from the Matrix into a real dude. That's not how the brain works.
This is why religious zealots bother me that are like trying to force people into believing in a specific religion, and it's like they're like, it's 100% the truth, and like they're super ignorant about it. It just bothers me. So I'm like, there's so much unknown. You can't say
that's actually my one and only issue with religion. Like, if religion is something that helps you, everybody has a coping mechanism.
Totally.
Let religion be that coping mechanism for you. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, same.
But I guess I have two problems with religion. One, too many people think their religion is the one true religion and want to push it on to others. Yep. That is your coping mechanism. Let it be a coping mechanism for you. If somebody comes to you and wants to talk to you about it and maybe use that religion, that's fine. But don't try to push it onto others. That's my one problem. And two, the majority of religious people that I talk to have zero critical thinking skills.
100%.
Once they've started reading whatever book they follow, their critical thinking goes out the damn window.
I agree 100%. It's because they don't have any critical thinking skills is the reason they need the religion to hold on to, or else their brain would just explode.
And that's actually the sad part is I've known a few people with critical thinking skills probably better than my own. And that's something I do thrive on, is I think I have really good critical thinking skills. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but I've always prided myself on my ability to critically think situations through. And I had a couple of friends in the military, like, man, they could weave and dive and dip and dodge and, work their way through a problem. And then something went really wrong in their life. I think, and this is a awful thing to happen to someone. I think their wife prematurely passed away. Yeah. Ended up with, I think they passed. And I literally watched in real time as their critical thinking went out the fucking window.
It's because it becomes too much for their brain. They need something more streamlined, that they don't have to think as much, and they pour every ounce of their belief into it so that they can...
The idea of putting your faith in a higher power that can explain all the unexplainable things in the world that we live in, I can understand why you do it, because it does make you feel better. The feeling that, hey, there is a plan, there is a point to all this, it's very comforting. But at the end of the day, there has to be those moments where you stop and be like, as much as I want to have faith in this higher power to sort out my life, I do need to get up and put the work in myself.
And that's actually the reason that I moved away from, sure, there is a possibility that all these gods exist. I just can't fathom only a single god existing. For whatever reason, I'm still willing to accept there's the possibility of a pantheon. Throughout history, there's been multiple different gods. Sure, fine, well, and good. But for myself, that's why I follow a much more Buddhistic tradition, is because it teaches you to look inward upon yourself to solve problems instead of looking for some omnipotent, omnipotent, mystical force to solve your problems for you.
I agree. That's why I like Shintoism.
Shintoism is something that I looked into, but I forget what it was. There's a balance difference between Shinto and Buddhism, and there's something about Shintoism didn't vibe with me, so I didn't go down that pathway.
Intertwining sort of Buddhism and Shintoism.
Nagi, if you have questions, get your ass up here. Hey, Dr. P. There was something else I was going to say, but I've already railroaded my way off the... Hold on, I'm giving you all my husband because my dog needs to go out.
Hello, husband.
Can you take over for a minute?
Is the husband gonna be a voice in the distance?
So he's not feeling well enough to hop on the live. So y'all behave and keep the live going for a couple of minutes. I'll be right back.
All right. Try to keep the light
And
running.
on the moon. Hi.
What?
What do you want?
In regards to that favorite video game bit, I wanted to ask you, man, what's up with Skyrim? I've been hearing about that since freaking high school. What's up with that? What's the
Came out
big
in
deal?
2011.
Yeah, I've been
It's just
hearing
a
about
really
it.
fun, big, open world adventure game where you can, be a magic person or a bow and arrow person or, anything.
I get it.
But at this point, if you haven't played it, I would just wait for Elder Scrolls 6. It comes out in a year.
I've never really been that kind of guy who's into fantasy. People tried for years to put me on Diablo and Oblivion and all that jazz, but I've never really been that guy.
Skyrim is the sequel to Oblivion.
Alrighty, everyone. So really quick housekeeping. If you like the way I run my lives, if you like the carefree nature of my lives, or if you have any questions, we'll cover that second. If you like the way I run my lives, feel free to send a gift or two. We're looking for roses today. We try to get $50 every day for taking the time out of our day to host these lives. If you could double tap that screen, we're looking to get to 10K likes in the next, 10 minutes. I'm running out of breath. Why am I running out of breath?
I'm watching all of
We
my
humbly
dogs
accept
need
your
clothes.
patronage. Yes.
If you like my lives, please share the live. If you're feeling generous, send a gift or two. Feel free to subscribe to me. I go live every day during the week. I usually take the weekends off. We do gaming lives. We do lives like this. I will be moving over to Twitch for the majority of my gaming lives. My Twitch is on the bottom of the screen. You can absolutely follow me over there. We will be starting the Twitch up in approximately 10 days. I'm waiting for a commission to be finished, which is a rigging of my fursona, which will be your host when I'm hosting on Twitch. So you won't have to stare at my ugly face.
Your face is not ugly.
Yeah, shh, I will drop you. While I'm talking, I'm ugly. No, I appreciate it. I don't have a lot of self-confidence in myself, but I appreciate it. With that said, double tapping the screen, I can already see people doing it, sharing the live out. I would love to have conversations on what my topics are because I think they're important. And I think a lot of people have a misconception about trans individuals, which is why I host this space in general. But my space is meant to be very lighthearted and a place that individuals can come together and have conversations, whether that be on the topics or random bullshit like we're doing right now, as I want it to be a much safer place than I have previously hosted. I have hosted some heinous individuals with the misconception that I could get them to see logic and reason. There are just some people that are completely unwilling to learn. I thought it was okay because I had people in the chat that were still learning. And for the most part, I was right about that. There were a ton of people that would reach out to me and say, thank you so much for what you do. Thank you for putting this information out there. I learned a lot. But while that was happening, I was letting some of the most heinous shit be spoken on my lives because I thought I was doing a greater good. I don't see it that way anymore. Letting a ton of misinformation be spewed, even if I'm correcting it, was not helping, at least on the platform that I want to host. So you have my apologies for that. My live is a space where I will do my best to bring the most up-to-date information to my panel and to my guests. So if you are looking to get some sort of education, specifically on LGBTQIA topics, this may be a space for you. If you love video games, this may be a space for you. If you just want a place to hang out and relax, this is definitely a space for you. With that said, I don't know where we are in the conversation. My puppy is outside very happy right now. We have 11 minutes remaining on this live. Today is a little bit shorter live due to technical difficulties I had earlier in the live. I do apologize for that. So we most likely won't reach our live goal. We most likely won't reach our gift goal. Shit happens. I'm not too worried about it. This is my full-time job. I will be trying to make those live goals. I will advocate for myself. But at the end of the day, my spaces are meant for people to have a good time and make connections. Maybe somebody in the chat starts talking about Legend of Zelda and you're the biggest Legend of Zelda fan. Or somebody's having a really hard time in their gender affirmation or even trying to come out to their parents. Hell, they could be 30 still trying to come out to their parents. We know this because society sucks. It doesn't matter. This is a space for acceptance and understanding and education. And if that's not something you want, then get the fuck out of my life. This isn't the space for you. It's not.
Mission
Amen.
statement received. Amen indeed. Though I will say, in terms of
That's
Zelda,
actually the
Wind
way
Waker looks
funny though. That's how I
ridiculous.
found you, Demi. I found you on Kaiza's live, and I just really did not vibe with them. We fought incessantly, but I saw you on there, and I was like, why can't they all of us be more like Demi? And then you went on your own, so I was like, yay.
Well, everybody has their own way of doing things. I've said this before, is some people do better and thrive better in, like, I thought Kaiza brought a very middle of the road. They had some of how I hosted and some of the more chaotic hosting, which is why I would show up to Kaiza's, is Kaiza was open to being corrected when she was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Kaiza could be very confrontational, which is usually when I got quiet. I don't really do confrontation. I don't see anything wrong with the way Kaiza hosted their lives for the most part, but then again, there are people that are going to critique the way I host my lives. There is no perfect way to host a live. I'm glad you find my space something that you like, but I'm not going to downplay what Kaiza did. Kaiza did a lot.
Yeah, for sure.
I just want to be very clear about that. Kaiza did a lot for our community. Just like other creators that hold and I will say this till I'm blue in the face, a more Jerry Springer-like live.
Totally.
You also see that they have 5, 6, 7, 2,000 people in those lives that are still being educated.
Yeah.
At my best, I've only had 1,500 people in my live, and that was when I was going live every day. I had been doing it for 8 months straight, and that was my best. And it still got chaotic even in my lives, and I don't like to host my lives that way. So to those creators, keep doing what you're doing as long as you are putting out information and you can back what you're saying, because I just don't want misinformation coming out of our community and our allies. Is you're not doing any good if you're putting information that is easily debunkable or easily able to be run away with. Because what I put out, I can back up with peer-reviewed after peer-reviewed after peer-reviewed source. And that's the way I see things. I'm not going to tell somebody how to host their live, but I will call out misinformation, even if it's from within my own community. And I have.
Oh yeah, I know you have. I was just saying more like I think that everything that they were saying are people who do that can be right. But the way you can deliver a message to someone can either take them to education or it can force them back into their own way of thinking just because of how negative you approach them.
Yeah, and especially when they would host.
And I honestly, go ahead, man.
So when she would host those spaces, and there'd be like 300 people in the live and such.
I would honestly say, and I think this happens to a lot of creators, I think Kaiza's original game plan kind of got skewed the more hate they got.
Totally.
Because I know it happened to me for a little bit also. Is the more hate I got, the more I started lashing out. And that's one of the reasons I took a break. The other reason is I went through a major surgery and I didn't feel like dealing with assholes while I was recovering from a surgery. So the simplest thing that I can say is yes, the way you deliver a message is very, very important.
Yeah.
But a lot of us as creators, and I'm not trying to speak for other creators, this is just the way I see it in my head. I want to be very clear about that. Is energy begets energy, one, and two, I don't think any of us expect the ones that come up in the box 95% of the time to give a shit about a word we say. They're not listening. So I could be the sweetest, nicest individual on the planet, or I could be the most heinous asshole on the planet, and the message is going to be received the same way to 95% of the people that hop up in my guest panel. That's the problem. Now, I have a lot of patience. I blame the military on that, due to the fact that I had to brief 3- and 4-star generals. So I'm used to people just letting things go in one ear and out the other, and still being sweet and kind, and all bubbly. On the inside, I may be wanting to wring somebody's neck, but you will see a sweet, bubbly individual. But I host my lives for my chat, and I host my lives for myself, because I know there are people within my community that have learned from me. The amount of thanks I've gotten from my community, that's why I still host these lives, and I haven't just left. It's not for the one-offs that I changed their mind. It's not for the one-offs that went, oh, well, that kind of makes sense, and then I see them in a live 2 days later spewing the same hatred. It's for the ones in my community that go, but wait a minute, I thought I don't need to transition to be trans. You don't. I thought I don't need to, well, what you're saying, are you saying that I need a brain scan to prove I'm trans? No, let me elaborate further. Oh, that makes sense. You're fascinated by the science, but you don't need it to prove somebody's trans. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Oh, that thing about the cortexial wall in the unique brain of a trans woman being similar to the cortexial wall in a cis woman, that's fascinating. These are why I do these lives, is because I can bring a level of education, or at least I try to, that not everybody else attempts to do.
I agree. I think you do that very well.
A very solid way to host a live
I appreciate it. That is one of the compliments that I will always take, because that is what I'm trying to do with my lives. And if I'm reaching a couple of people a day that go, hey, you laid this out very well, and even if it's, I don't entirely believe you, but I'm going to go research those sources that you just gave me. That's what I'm trying to do. It's just that bit of information that puts it over the top.
It also puts up a wall between you and the kind of people who would normally come into, like, say, though there would be 300 people in Kaiser's live stream, you knew some of those people just came in here just to cause a fuzz. So to hold your lives the way you do kind of puts up this wall to say, like, nope, you're not going to come in here and do some fuck shit. Like, you're not going to round me up.
Yeah,
you're not going to play your game.
And I'm very, very simple, and my moderators know this. They don't like this. This is actually one of the biggest pushbacks I get. If people want to come in here and call me a man until they're blue in the face, if they want to come in here and harass me about the fact I have a bad hairline, I've put my hairline. I've had a widow's peak since I was a child. I can put photos of me at 1 year old with almost the identical hairline I have now, because I have a widow's peak that's about that deep. I hate my hairline. I've hated it since I was born, but it's what I was born with. If they want to harass me, let them harass me, because it's not going to change who I am. I have spent years and years denying who I am. Some random Call of Duty wannabe on the internet is not going to upset me. Hell, half the insults they throw out, I heard those when I was like 15 playing video games online.
Yes.
Nothing they say on here is really going to affect me.
The good old days of
2006, so they don't get it.
Oh, yeah.
If they start give me 1 second and then I'll give you guys the floor. If they start harassing my chat or my panelists, mute them for the whole live, because I can't talk to my chat's mental well-being. I can't talk to my panelists' mental well-being. But for me, their bullshit is not going to get to me. It may hurt in the moment. It may suck in the moment because it gets annoying, if anything, over time. But overall, what is you going, oh, well, you look like a man. Well, honey, if I look like a man, then everybody on the planet must be the nicest person in the world because I haven't been called a man in over a decade. And I was only called a man because I was making an active attempt to try to look like a man. I put on a wonderful play for the world. I sucked at it.
Here.
I get it.
Please tell me you're not peeing.
No, sorry. I'm
Man.
throwing a bucket of water on my balcony. My dog. I just got a puppy. I got an Italian Greyhound, and they're very pee shy, so he won't pee. And I live downtown Toronto, so it's very busy where I live. And every gust of wind, a sound, and something, it distracts him from the pee process. So I let him pee on my balcony, and then I pour boiling water over it with like an enzyme pool.
Just look, I didn't think you were doing it on purpose, but sometimes people think they mute their phones and they don't. So I was like, let me give you a heads up what that sounds like.
Remember that guy who was in the bathroom?
You can see one of my moderators, Maggie, as my thumb twitches over the block and mute buttons. Laugh my ass off. The amount of willpower it takes, yes. My moderators are very quick to defend me, and I have to reinforce to leave the chat alone unless they're being heinous. You see a slur dropped, you don't even got to ask me. If they're picking on me, if it gets incessive to the point where it's derailing the chat, sure, go ahead and mute them. But if you're doing it because you think it's going to bother me, it takes a lot to bother me. Does it get annoying? Sure. But then again, going out in public and having someone cut me off driving down the road gets annoying too. Life is full of little annoyances, but individuals that don't have let me say this in the nicest but meanest way possible. Individuals that don't have the intellectual capacity to get up here and have a civil conversation with me and just want to spew hatred aren't worth my time, whether in any capacity. And that's include giving them the time of day for their insults. Does that make sense?
100%. Because it's also like the way I look at it is I'm like, if somebody insults me, calls me zesty or whatever when I'm trying to join a debate space and talk about it, and that's their only comeback, it's like, okay, my family, I still have my family, I still have my friends, I still have my job, I still have my life. Ooh, a random box on TikTok said my opinion is invalid because I'm zesty across the world. Oh my gosh, my life is over. Like, who cares?
Okay, now this may be me showing my age, but what the fuck is zesty?
Oh, that's their code word to call you gay and make fun of you.
It's overused. It's bordering on cliche now.
That's their like, I guess, way around TikTok rules and regulations to make fun of you for being a homosexual.
Oh, okay. Never heard that one before.
It's like when
I
you
thought
call a guy
zesty was
soft.
like calling someone spicy. I didn't know how it was insulting.
It used to be. Now it's insulting. Now we're zesty.
Oh, okay.
The straight people took it away.
Wait a minute. I thought words, meanings, and definitions can't change.
Exactly. I mean, the contradictions upon contradictions of the other people, like they can't debate you regularly, so then they have to resort to the insults, but then they can't actually really insult you or their account gets banned, so they have to make up new words and new meanings, which contradicts their original statement of, words mean this and they can't be changed. So it's like just a cyclical cycle of ridiculousness.
The funny part is only they know what the words mean, and they can't register with you until you understand what they mean. So they'll drop something and you'll be sitting there like, huh? And now they have to explain what this crap is, and it's just like, oh, well, you've already lost its power, because this shit don't work if you have to stop and explain.
Yeah.
No, I'm in agreement. All right, I'm going to give each of you 2 minutes to sign yourself off. I'm going to be ending the live in 10 minutes.
Jake, you sign
I'm
off
already
first.
over the time frame that I want it to be, but I want to get some time outside with my puppy for playtime. I do try to make sure she gets 20 minutes of good exercise a day. She is a Shiba Inu. She should be getting more, but she's a little overweight, so she tires out too fast.
My best friend just got a Shiba Inu who lives next door to me, so we both just got puppies together. It's named Mochi.
Let me know when Mochi starts eating the drywall.
The drywall.
No, I'm actually serious. All right, so really quickly, everyone. This is the last 10 minutes of the live. If you want to drop a gift, if you want to double tap that screen, actually, no. Double tap that screen. Let's get to 10K. If you want to drop a gift, feel free to do so. If you like the way I run my lives, go ahead and drop a subscription. Share the live out. All of these are absolutely amazing. And do help the algorithm, even for when I'm starting up on the next day, which will be live tomorrow, starting at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So without further ado, Maggie, I did accept you. I don't know if you were trying to come up. Without further ado, Man on the Moon, 2 minutes to sign yourself off.
I've had a great and wonderful time on this live stream. As always, I enjoy coming up here. Folks want to know where to find me. You'll find me in this space. This is like, I think, the only live I go on. It used to be one of two, but then guys have stopped doing their thing. So yeah, this is it. And yeah, good luck and Godspeed to everyone. And always remember, we are who we are. There's no point arguing with yourself or anyone else about it.
Well, thank you so much for that, Man on the Moon, and I do love the fact that you like this space enough to keep coming back. So thank you so much. I'm going to have you hop down.
Street light flickers, shadows dance. Reel to reel spinning, lost in a trance. Neon nights where stories ignite. The 80s magic fills the sky bright. Blockbuster dreams on silver screens. Heroes and journeys wild in between. Tall tales told, bold colors that gleam. Fantasies built on an endless dream. Popcorn air, sunsets on the bay. Dial tones hum as the VHS plays. Tape rewind, frames stick in my brain. Freeze frame forever, old movies remain. Blockbuster dreams on silver screens. Heroes and journeys wild in between. Tall tales told, bold colors that gleam. Fantasies built on an endless dream. We run to adventures, feel the thrill. Synth-line heartbeats, moments that kill. Catch your breath at the edge of the sea. 80s magic, a rhythm that repeats. Blockbuster dreams on silver screens. Heroes and journeys wild in between. Tall tales told, bold colors that gleam. Fantasies built on an endless dream. We run to adventures, feel the thrill. Synth-line heartbeats, moments that kill. Catch your breath at the edge of the sea. 80s magic, a rhythm that repeats.